Hey guys, it's Alexandra from iloveknots.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a corner-to-corner letter S wall hanging. It is just a big letter. This does not have to be a wall hanging. You could also leave off this dowel row and sew a bunch of corner-to-corner box squares together to make an afghan, or you can make two of these and sew them together to make a vertical throw pillow. I'm working on a USA wall hanging to decorate with in my living room, but I also have a single letter that I use on my gallery wall throughout the year. It also makes a great wedding present, anniversary present, baby shower gift. For mine, I'm using Red Heart Super Saver yarn and a J10 6mm crochet hook. I really like Red Heart Super Saver for my home projects. It's durable, washes okay. Similar yarns to this are going to be Caron 1 pound and Bernat Super Value. But really, you can use your favorite worsted weight yarn for this project. It's going to be hanging on the wall. Gauge is not terribly essential unless the finished size is essential to you. I will explain gauge for this project. This wall hanging is about 10 and 3 inches wide, so you'll want a dowel that is at least 12 inches or longer. I got this one at my local bird store. That's why it has a line cut out, because it's a perch for a bird cage, but you can get them at your local hardware store or even your local craft store. I've also gotten some from Joann's and Michael's. For my USA wall hanging, I actually bought a dowel that is 36 inches long, as I plan to put all three of them together. But for single wall hangings, I use a 12-inch long dowel. I've seen many wall hangings made with sticks out of the backyard, so you could do that too. You're going to find the written crochet pattern to this at iloveknots.com. I will link that in the description below. I have the pattern for all 26 letters. This video tutorial is just showing how to make the letter S. I work from a written pattern and not from a chart, but I do provide charts for all of the letters, including this letter U. I do not work from the charts, but I am going to insert a clip here from another tutorial showing how you could use a chart in place of the written pattern. Some people will print this chart out and they will work their chart, and as they complete the rows, they will just mark a line through, meaning I just completed row 2, I'm working in this direction. After row 3, you would mark it like this. I just completed row 3. You can absolutely do that. I will provide the link where you can get this chart, but I do not work from the charts. I like to work from a written pattern. So I have here on the side, I have my notes for each breakdown, and I just have like 1 cream, 2 orange, and 5 cream, and that's how you're going to see it written in my patterns. But I also provide this chart so you can do it either way. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with a slip knot. So I've pulled the tail end over my fingers. I'll wrap it around my index finger 2 times, hold the tension with my thumb and my middle finger, pull the loop that's on the left up over the other loop but not off my finger. Then I'll pull the loop that's now on the left up over the other one and off my finger. Take my crochet hook, insert it into the loop where my finger is. I'll hold the working yarn with my right hand, and with my left hand I'm going to pull on the short tail end to tighten the knot up to normal tension. And now we're ready to begin. Row 1 is going to have 1 box. We're going to start with a chain 6. Cha-chain, we yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. Yarn over, pull through the loop on our hook. That's 3. I want 6. Each time we start a row by increasing, we're going to start with a chain 6. And we're going to work into the chain exactly as I'm about to show you, and this is how we're going to build a box. So we don't count the loop that's on our hook. We're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and in that chain we're going to work a double crochet. To double crochet, we yarn over, insert your hook directly into the center of the chain, yarn over, pull through. There are 3 loops on your hook right now. Yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And we'll double crochet into the next chain, yarn over, insert your hook into that chain, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And one more double crochet into that very last chain. And I'm just tightening the slip knot up a little bit, and here is our very first box. We have the 3 double crochets that we worked, and then these skipped chains also count as a double crochet. So each box is comprised of 4 double crochets. To begin row 2, we're going to start with a chain 6. And we're going to work into this chain the same exact way as we just did for our first box. We're going to work a double crochet into the 4th, 5th, and 6th chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have this alligator mouth shape. We're going to take that bottom box and flip it so it's mirrored. When you lay this top box down onto the bottom one, it should naturally fill that space and put you in a position to work into that very last stitch. If you're counting from the box underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. This stitch is the one that we want to slip stitch to. So it's also the beginning chain that we skipped. Just insert your hook into the top chain, yarn over, pull through that stitch and through the loop that's on your hook. That is a slip stitch join, and that's how we will secure each box to each other. So far for round 2 we have 1 box worked and we slip stitch joined. Just as I mentioned before, for each row that we are increasing, we're going to start with a chain 6 and work down the chain to form the first box. But for each box that we create in the center, we're going to start with a chain 2. And this chain 2 is equal to one of the double crochets as well. We're going to build our boxes in the middle into the side of the previous row's box. So what we're looking at right here on the top, that's one of the stitches from the previous box. We want to work into the space that's in between that stitch and the next stitch, right in the center of those 2 stitches. That's where we're going to work 2 double crochets. Just insert right into the center space, yarn over, pull through, and complete your double crochet. As you do this, you're going to crochet right over that last stitch. So it's on top of my hook right now and I'm crocheting over it. When we work in the center boxes, we will work a chain 2 and 3 double crochets into that space. But on the edges, I always do just 2 double crochets into that space, and then I work my last double crochet into the foundation chain on the left side. This is going to help give me a more even edging. And when I work, I'm actually going to be working into the 3rd stitch and not the 4th stitch of that previous box. And you can see down here where my thumb is on the bottom left corner, that's 1, 2, 3 stitches from that previous box. That is where I want to insert my hook, directly into the center of that foundation chain and complete my double crochet. This is going to give me the best look for my edge, the cleanest look, the most straight look. If you go into that top stitch, then it has like a dip in there. You don't have to work it into this stitch. When you put the border on it, it will even it out. But I like to do it this way. I like to have my clean edge all the way around before I even put the border on. This is the end of row 2, and we now have 2 boxes. Row 3 is going to have 3 boxes. We're going to start with our chain 6. Then we're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, into the 5th chain, and into the 6th chain. We're back to that alligator shape. We'll take the boxes on the bottom and flip them so they're mirrored. And we're going to slip stitch join to the top of the last chain from that previous box. So remember I said that if you lay your boxes together as they would naturally fall with the fabric, it puts you in the position to pick up that stitch. If you need to count over, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Insert your hook into the top of that stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch and this loop that's on your hook. When I'm working in the center, I find that sometimes my hook will catch the fabric on the left, so I just tuck it down so it stays out of the way. For all the boxes after the first increase, we're going to start with a chain 2, and we work all our double crochets into that space that's right in between that very last stitch and the stitch before that from the previous row's box. We're going to work 3 double crochets into that space. Yarn over, insert your hook directly into the center of the space, picking up that stitch over your hook, and complete your double crochets. For each stitch in the center, this is exactly how you'll work your box. Chain 2, 3 double crochets into that space in between those stitches. I'm popping that fabric up on the left side, and I'm going to find the top of the last stitch and I'm going to slip stitch join. Start with a chain 2, and because I'm working on the edge now, I'm only going to work 2 stitches into that space, and I'll work the very last stitch on the side foundation chain. To find that stitch on the side, here's 1, 2, 3 stitches from that previous box. And I'll double crochet into the side edge of that 3rd stitch. And now we have row 3 finished with 3 boxes. I'm going to break down one more row, and then after that I'm just going to work in boxes. For row 4, we start with a chain 6. Double crochet into the 4th, 5th, and 6th chains. flip my bottom fabric so it's mirrored, slip stitch join to the top last stitch of the previous box, fold my fabric on the left side down so it doesn't get in the way. And for all the rest of the boxes, after the first one, we start with a chain 2, 3 double crochets into that space in between those 2 stitches, pull my fabric up, slip stitch join to the top of the last stitch of that previous box, fold my fabric on the left back down, chain 2, 3 double crochets into that space in between those stitches, fold my fabric back up, slip stitch to the top of the last stitch of that previous box, chain 2. Now I'm on the side, so I'm only going to work 2 stitches into that space in between those 2 stitches from that box, and then I'm going to work my last double crochet into that 3rd stitch from that previous box on the side edge. And there's row 4 complete with 4 boxes. Even when we add in color changes, the same principle for building the boxes applies. As long as you're increasing, you're going to start with a chain 6 in the beginning. And for all the rest of the boxes, you're going to start with a chain 2. You're also going to find that as you increase, with each row, you're going to gain an extra box. We started with 1 box, then we increased to 2 boxes, now we've increased to 3 boxes, and finally 4 boxes. As you continue to increase, you will continue to add boxes. The way that I would count this, I would turn it this way since this is the first box that we started. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. After you get to this top edge and you start to decrease, then you would start counting horizontally. But as long as we're increasing, I just count upward 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. If you're working an image, and it doesn't matter if it's mirrored, then any side can be the right side or the wrong side because we're turning at the end of each row. But if you're working a project that has an image that is important, like the letter S, you want to make sure that you're working your boxes so that your finished project comes out exactly in the correct position. Round 5 is going to be 5 blue boxes. There's round 5 with 5 blue boxes. Now that we've reached 5 boxes tall and 5 boxes wide, that's the end of row 5. Now we're going to take gauge. I'm going to insert a clip here from when I worked the letter U. That is going to talk about gauge, and then we will move on to row 6. If the finished size of this wall hanging is important to you, you're going to want to go ahead and measure your gauge now. Measuring gauge means you're taking your tape measure, you're measuring from the left edge over to the right edge, and you want it to measure 4 1/4 inches. The other side is a little bit different. It's not going to be the same exact size, but you measure the same way from the top to the bottom, and it should be about 4 1/8 inches tall. If the finished size is not important to you, it doesn't matter what it's measuring. If it is important to you and it's not correct, depending on if it's smaller or larger than the measurements I just gave you, then you will need to switch to either a larger or a smaller crochet hook, rework the first 5 rows, and then take gauge again. I'm right on point. I'm going to go ahead and continue. Round 6 is where we're going to introduce our white. We're going to start with 1 blue box, then 4 white boxes, and 1 blue box. So I'm going to go ahead and just work my first box, and then I'll show you how to join your next color. There's my first box of the row. I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook as if to slip stitch, but I'm going to pause here. And I'm going to set it down. I'm grabbing my next color, which is white. I want to form a loop here near the end and leave a tail end long enough that I can comfortably weave in. I'm going to put this loop on my hook, and that's going to count as my yarn over, and I'm going to pull it through to complete the slip stitch. I'm just tightening the blue. Row 6 is going to be our front side, our right side, so I'm going to drop all the tail ends to the back, that blue and the white tail, and all our tail ends are going to stay on that side from now on. Then I'll continue on, work as normal, 4 white boxes. Hey, knock it off. There's my 4th white box. Now I need to work a blue box, but I don't want to use the blue strand from the first box. I need that strand to continue working with in this direction here. So I need to introduce a new blue strand. If you have another ball of yarn, this is the perfect time to grab that center pull and attach it there. It will help with the tangling. I am working from the same ball of yarn here though, so I'm just going to grab the tail end from the other side. I'm going to insert my hook as if to slip stitch, and then I'm going to hold on to the tension there with my index finger. Grabbing my new blue strand, I want to form a loop. and leave a tail end long enough that I can comfortably weave in. Put that loop on my crochet hook and pull it through to complete the slip stitch. Then I'll tighten that white, drop the white to the back, drop the blue tail end to the back, and pick up my new blue strand to work my last blue box. And there's row 6. We had 1 blue box, 4 white boxes, and 1 blue box. Row 7 is going to be 1 blue box, 5 white boxes, and 1 blue box. We're going to have 2 different ways that we're going to do our color changes beginning in this row and moving forward. So I'll go over both of those today. I'm going to go ahead and start with just my 1 blue box. I'm putting this down for a moment so we can see that when I join the next one, I'm going to be pulling my white over to the right. For these that you will be pulling over to the right, you're going to slip stitch as normal to complete your box and then grab your yarn. So I've slip stitched as normal to complete my first box. I'm going to tighten the white, and then I'm going to just naturally pull it over. You don't want this float to have too much slack or be too tight, or it will bunch up your box or look really messy. So you just want to naturally grab it and pull it through that loop. Then you'll take that blue strand, pull it down so that the blue yarn disappears, and bring the blue to the front. That's where all your tail ends are going to be. And I know that because I have a blue tail right here above me. Then I'll grab my white and I'll chain 2. I don't want to crochet over this blue tail, so I want to pull it out of my way and work my box as normal into that space. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch and put this down. What I'm showing you here is how I personally like to work my color changes. If you have a more preferred method, go ahead and use that. But this is the way that I think is the most seamless in corner to corner boxes. This is how I enjoy working it. So that's the way I'm going to show you. You may notice that this blue loop will come up as you work because it's not secured down until you work your next box. So if it does come up, or before you use it again, just make sure you tighten it down. And that loop will completely disappear. You're not going to see it. I'm going to continue on working my white boxes. And now we've reached the second type of color change. In this case, we're bringing our tail end up. And when we bring our tail end up, we do that first, insert our hook, and then complete our slip stitch. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this blue first. Bring it up to where you're going to slip stitch. Then insert your crochet hook into the stitch to slip stitch. And when you do this, your yarn strand that you're carrying up is going to be on the right of your crochet hook. So you've inserted into this stitch over here, and the strand is to the right of your crochet hook. You've captured it in there, in between those two boxes. Then I'm going to continue with my white to slip stitch here. So as I do that, I'm going to pull through the stitch from my next box, through the blue strand that I pulled up, and through the white stitch that's currently on my hook. This gives us this float here that you do see from the wrong side, but it blends in so well it's not even noticeable. I think that this just puts you in a better position to now pick up that color to change here. So now I've dropped my white, pick up the blue and just pull it through the loop on my hook, and I can pull that white tight so that that loop disappears. Then I'll bring the white to the front with all the rest of the tails, work my chain 2, and complete my last box. Here's round 7. We had 1 blue box, 5 white boxes, and 1 blue box. We also worked on our color changes here. I'll recap them really quickly. When we are pulling our yarn strand over to the right, we slip stitch as normal first, then we naturally pull it over and pull it through. And when you work your next box, you work over that float that you grabbed. This is it down here. You can't see it because we crocheted over it. When you pull your yarn strand up, you pull your yarn strand up first, then you insert your hook. The strand is over your hook when you slip stitch, and it gives you a float. You can barely see it here though because it blends right in. And I'll show you from the right side real quick. Here's our first color change down here. You don't even notice it. Up here you see that white strand, that's because it's loose on the other side. So if I pull it down, as if it was secured because I was continuing to work, you don't see it either. Just a little bit right here. But this is my favorite way to change colors, and I'm going to continue to work in this method all the way as I finish my boxes. Row 8 is going to be 1 blue box, 6 white boxes, and 1 blue box. There is row 8. We had 1 blue box, 6 white boxes, and 1 blue box. Row 9 is going to be 1 blue box, 7 white boxes, and 1 blue box. There's row 9. We had 1 blue box, 7 white boxes, and 1 blue box. Row 10 is going to be 2 blue boxes, 7 white boxes, and 1 blue box. Here I've just finished my second blue box. I need to work white boxes next. I'm just going to pull my strand up the same way that I normally do. So I'll insert my hook into the next stitch here, pull that white strand up, slip stitch, then drop the blue and grab the white. And continue on. And there is row 10. We started off with 2 blue boxes and 7 white boxes and 1 blue box. Row 11 is going to be 1 blue box, 4 white boxes, 1 blue box, 3 white boxes, and 2 blue boxes. I'm going to go ahead and work the first 3 color sections, and then I'll guide you through the last 2 color sections. Alright, I did mention that I was going to work the first 3 color sections, however I did not realize that I would not have yarn to work that third one. So I've worked my first blue box and 4 white boxes. Now we need 1 blue box here in the center, and I don't have it around because my next blue tail is up here on the end. So if you have another ball of yarn, this is a great time to go ahead and add that here. It will help with yarn tangling. I am working from both sides of 1 ball of yarn, so I'm going to find out whether this bottom strand or this top strand are coming from the center pull of the ball. And it's this top strand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a really long strand of yarn. And this is the yarn that I'm going to go ahead and continue working with at the top. So here I'm going to just fasten off. You can wind all this yarn that you just pulled into what is called a butterfly bobbin. It will make it much easier to work with and help with yarn tangling because it'll be much easier to untangle. I don't do it, I just go with the flow. I'm just going to leave this yarn jumble here just as it is and just work with it as it comes. That yarn strand that I just fastened off from the center, before I add it, if my yarn is tangling already down in here, I want to go ahead and untangle it. Right now I don't have any yarn tangles. But every opportunity that you have when you fasten off the yarn, you want to go ahead and untangle as much as possible. I'm going to go ahead and with this yarn strand, I'm making a loop with the tail end long enough that I can comfortably weave in. I'm going to set that down for a moment. Coming back to my work, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch as normal. Hold the tension with my right hand, drop that white strand that I'm working with, and add that loop from my new blue strand onto my hook. Pull it through the loop, then pull down on the white so that that loop disappears, and bring it to the front with the rest of the tails. I'll do the same thing with the blue strand's tail end. And now I'm ready to work my next box here in blue. Now we need to introduce another white strand. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch as normal here, and then I'll set this down. If you have another white skein to work from, go ahead and use that. I'm just going to work from the other end of my white ball of yarn. So right here where my first white section was, that's one end of my ball, and I'm going to go find the other end. This is what makes tangling really difficult because you're working from both sides. It's not as easy to untangle, so if you have other balls of yarn, it makes it easier. Here I've made my loop. I have a tail end long enough to comfortably weave in. I'll put that loop on my hook, pull it through the blue strand, pull down on the blue so it disappears, bring that to the front, bring the white tail end to the front as well, and now I'm ready to work 3 white boxes. We're going to finish this row off with 2 blue boxes, and I'm just going to change the color as normal here. I have a strand right next to me that I'm going to work with. And there we have row 11. We had 1 blue box, 4 white boxes, 1 blue box, 3 white boxes, and 2 blue boxes. For row 12, we're going to have 3 blue boxes, 2 white boxes, 2 blue boxes, 4 white boxes, and 1 blue box. And there's row 12. We had 3 blue boxes, 2 white boxes, 2 blue boxes, 4 white boxes, and 1 blue box. Row 13 is going to be 2 blue boxes, 3 white boxes, 2 blue boxes, 3 white boxes, and 3 blue boxes. And that's the end of row 13. We had 2 blue boxes, 3 white boxes, 2 blue boxes, 3 white boxes, and 3 blue boxes.